Hello, welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube. Myself, Mark Harlaw, and Mr. Riley Finch. It's a bit of a special today, Riley. We've got the FIFA 23 ratings reveal. Obviously, EA Sports' new games coming out very soon. And we've got all the stats now for the West Ham players, which is very exciting. So basically what we've got is we've got a few cards we want to show you, and they're the sort of key players. And then first of all, we wanted to run through some sort of changes. And Riley, you've been looking at the list, haven't you, and comparing, I think, from last season.
Yeah, I mean, like I myself, mate, I love FIFA. Well, I say I love it. I love and I hate it. You know, it's a very love-hate relationship. But I buy FIFA every single year. I've been playing it since FIFA 11. I've gone from the DS to the Wii and now to the Xbox.
Nice.
And yeah, you know, I played it a lot last year, and obviously I love career mode. I love because let's not forget last year we didn't have very many transfers, so you like to kind of go in career mode and buy some players and feel a little bit better about yourself and cry on your controller. Yeah, I think we've got some really good players in there, some good ratings. I think maybe some harsh decisions, maybe a little bit, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think as a whole, we've been looked at very favourably by EA this year. Like we've got a lot of upgrades. We have got a lot of upgrades, and a lot of players I think are on the money. But there are some maybe a little bit harshness on EA's part. But on a whole, mate, I'm buzzing. I think we've got some really good players in FIFA this year.
It's exciting, mate. I'm really excited. I mean, I can't wait to play it. I'm really buzzing for this edition. And I've seen a lot of key features they're adding to the game as well. So it does look, it's going to be very good. I think it's going to be worth purchase this year. So I think first of all, what we'll do is we'll go through the list. We've received a list of all the stats of every player, and then we'll go into the cards, as I said. So let's start then, mate. And obviously you were talking about the sort of key movers. Then so let's start with those then in players that you think that have upgraded or downgraded, and as you say, some that might have been a little bit harsh. Where do you want to start with them, mate?
Well, joint second most upgrades for us is Ben Johnson. He's gone to a 74, I believe, from a 68.
Wow, that's a serious jump, isn't it? That is really big.
Jump.
Yeah, 74. He's now silver, yeah? And I think he was silver before, wasn't he?
He was a silver, but he's now rare silver. So I think he's one overall from becoming a gold, which is pretty big, to be fair. I mean, obviously he wasn't very well known last year, and he's probably made a name for himself, and that that's just proven by his rating on FIFA. I mean, +6, that's a massive upgrade. Like that is a really big upgrade.
It's good, isn't it? I mean, it's great for him, and obviously being a youth, player, come through the academy. It's great to see him being recognised like that, and I think he's deserved as well. He's a very good player for us. He's a key player for West Ham now, and no, that's a fair play to him. But that is, as you say, it's a massive jump, 6 points, overall. I mean, I'm looking at his stats here. I mean, it seems to be quite fair, doesn't it? Overall, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, there's nothing that jumps out at me. I mean, how much do you reckon players actually buy into the whole sort of FIFA ratings and stuff?
Well,
I think it's quite interesting.
I actually thought originally that they weren't interested. I really did. I didn't think that was something they were only keen on, or they wouldn't take much notice on. But I actually think they do care. When I've seen videos over the years of when they're comparing their ratings to their teammates, I think they do take it to heart. So no, I think it's bigger than. Well, it's certainly bigger than I expected it to be. Do you know what I mean? It's grown year on year, isn't it? So
definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just trying to get these stats sorted out this end. So you carry on, mate. So what you're thinking about Ben Johnson? Are you thinking these are fair on his regard?
I think it's pretty fair. I think I'd argue he's probably gold level, because I think if you're 75, you're the average player in the Premier League in my books. If you're 75, you're just there. I think if you're in a silver, you're sort of still up and coming. And I'd say Ben Johnson has kind of established himself as the average Premier League player nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do. I think he's deserved, mate. I'm glad he's getting recognised like that. I think it's excellent.
Yeah, but I mean, +7 would be like an insane jump. I mean, I'm not sure what sort of upgrades EA normally dish out in terms of like how high they can actually go, but I think +6 is a lot, to be fair. So yeah, I'm really buzzing for the rating, and I'm sure he'll be very happy with that. One rating off a gold, 74 from 68. I mean, if that's sort of showing how much progress you're making, then what else will be?
Anyone else, mate? Who's another jumper this season? Anyone's gone up in the points?
Well, another one for me is Skamaka, but obviously we're going to be talking about him a little bit later on.
Yes.
Nayef Agard has gone up by 4 as well. He was a 76. He's now an 80. He's a rare 80. So
that's I mean, that shows the quality player we've signed there, doesn't it? I mean, like that, it's a seriously good score.
Overtook Mbappe 1 foot race, and EA thought we need to bump those ratings up. So yeah, and he looks very usable this year as well. Very decent player. I mean, I'm very excited to use him personally.
Mm. I'm totally, mate. I'm fully behind. I really can't wait to see him back. And actually, we've just put up some news actually on the West Ham Way website. I'm not sure if you've seen that. Just well, it's actually going to be coming out very shortly, actually, just after this recording. So it'll be out by the time you see this video. And it's that Nath Agurd's actually way ahead of schedule and looks like he'll be playing, hopefully, fingers crossed, before the World Cup. So that's quite exciting.
Yeah, mate, I'm so buzzing to see him back, to be fair. I mean,
oh, mate.
He just looks when we signed him, I was actually more excited to see him play than someone like Scamacca, which is a bit mental, but he's such a composed centre-back. He's so good on the ball. I was just so excited to see him play. And, at least I'll be able to play with him on FIFA before we probably get in the West Ham squad. So
absolutely, yeah. Absolutely, mate. It'd be fantastic. In terms of another couple of players I wanted to pick up, first of all, before we go into the cards a bit later on, Mikel Antonio, where's he sitting at the moment, matey? What's happened with him?
Well, he stayed at 79, and I don't know. I mean, look, the start of the season for Mikel Antonio last year was immense. He was so good. But I don't know. I've always thought of him a little bit better than a 79. One thing I think EA have always got wrong about him is his pace.
Right. Okay.
I think this year he's got around 82 pace, 84 pace.
Yeah, he has. Sorry. He has. Yeah, he's got found here pace 82.
Yeah,
and that's high, isn't it? And I think that's. Did you think that's quite harsh on him then?
I do think so. I think he's at least like an 86 or an 87 pace. I mean, you look at him, mate. He's very quick. It's probably because he is quite a big fella and he's like quite bulky. And I think normally gets more the physical sort of side of his game put on the old EA cards, and as opposed to his sort of pace. But he's a quick guy, isn't he? Like he's rapid. Yeah. When he gets going, I think 82 is a tiny bit harsh, but.
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm quite surprised he's shooting, to be honest. I've always been shocked because they give him 75 for Antonio, and I think that's he is a striker, and he does have a good shot on him at times, but he's also quite wayward, isn't he? 75, I think, is quite high, personally.
Do you think that's quite high?
I don't know. I mean, I just think because for me, he's like for us. He occasionally does hit a ball amazingly for us. He does bury ball, chances, but at times, isn't he? He's so hit and miss. That's the problem. So I actually think that's quite high, but. Maybe I'm just being a little bit harsh on him.
I'd say in FIFA, if you're shooting 78, then you're fairly prolific, and if you're 87 to 87, it's more like 84 to 90, the ball's going in the net most of the time. So I'd say 75 is probably around about right.
That's fair. I might be a bit harsh, is that what you're saying?
I'd say being a tiny bit harsh on him there, mate, to be honest. I think he'll be disappointed with 75. He'll think he should deserve a lot higher than that, to be fair. No, me.
Yeah, possibly so. Max Corney, what are we saying with him? Obviously a new signing, Burnley, he did very well there. And also I think he's actually started very well for West Ham. I think he looks decent. Where is he in terms of the movements for this game?
Well, very interesting, mate. He's moved from a left back to a left wing. I mean, I'm not sure why he was a left back to start with. I know he played left back for Lyon, but he's very clearly not a left back. He's got so much attacking flair that he, rightly so, he is now going to be a left wing, left mid for West Ham, and he's gone up by +3. But he's a very, very good early game card. 87 pace, good shooting, good dribbling, 5'11", so he's not going to be very clunky on the ball in the game as well. Yeah, being a 78 and a non-rare, he's gonna be pretty. He's going to be pretty easy to acquire. So I think he's going to be a really good early game card. And he's one of those that I'm going to be quite excited to use.
His pace, though, as well, 87 pace. I mean, he's seriously quick, isn't he? That's very high, isn't it?
But that does surprise me a tiny bit because, I don't think he looks that fast like to the average player. I mean, he's quick. But, if you had into Antonio and Corney in a foot race, do you think there'd be much in it?
I don't know if I think you're right. I'm not sure. I mean, to be honest, he's quite explosive, isn't he? Like, I don't know.
He is.
I haven't seen enough of him yet to know how fast he really actually can go. But he definitely's got that. I like his burst of pace. I like the fact he can go very, very quickly. That's what I like about him. 87 though. I was quite surprised with that. I thought that was very high. But again, it's encouraging. I think what's one thing I'm really encouraged with these numbers this season. It shows that the players that we brought in are very highly rated. I'm very impressed with it. Which is Kira as well. Tilo Kira, obviously a key sort of fan favourite at the club already. Although he's despite the penalty and whatnot and own goal. What are your thoughts on his stats? Because again, I'm just looking here and he's a gold player. And overall he's quite highly rated, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think last year was a 75. He's now a 76. So I'd say that's pretty generous of the EA. That's quite a nice rating for him. And like I said, same with Corney. He's a very good early game card. He's going to be pretty easy to pack. I think you're going to see a lot of Premier League teams running with someone like Tilo Kira. Was it 76 pace he's got this year?
76. Yeah, I'm just looking right here. So if I go, sorry, to Kira. So look, because that's obviously one thing. He's pretty quick, isn't he, on the ball?
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, one thing about
75.
75. I mean, one thing about FIFA that's always well known is pacing. Is so important. Unfortunately, really good cards can just be hindered by the fact that they've just got 0 pace. So to have a defender on 75 pace is really good, especially from a non-rare card. So I mean, he looks really good. He's another one that I'm going to be putting straight into my team as well when FIFA comes out at the end of this month.
So let's have a look at some of the players that have dropped then, Riley. Who's dropped this season, and should we discuss that, and do we think that's fair?
Well, Aaron Creswell's dropped by 1.
That's one I noticed straight away.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think, I mean, Creswell's very weird for me. I'm not his biggest fan, if I'm honest. I do think he's not very good defensively. I'm not too sure on him, but I think from an outsider's perspective, a -1 might be a tiny bit harsh. I think 79 rated.
Has he gone down to? He was 79. Then is that what we're saying?
He was 79, which I think was right. That was like a pretty okay. I mean, most FIFAs he's sort of been around the whole 76, 77 mark, and then you had a really good season like the rest of West Ham, jumped up to 79, down to 78. I think maybe it's a tiny bit harsh, but I think realistically 78, 77, 79, that's the area that sort of Creswell should be. I just think if we're basing it just off of last season, I think a downgrade is a tiny bit harsh.
One player that I'm quite keen to talk about as well is Thomas Souček. Obviously, he's been, let's say, largely out of form, I would say, probably for quite some time now. Not been one of our main, best performers, I would say. That's probably been a little bit, I don't know whether it's a little bit harsh or being a bit fair. I'm not sure, somewhere in the middle maybe. But yeah, that's how I personally feel. What's happened with him in FIFA then? Has that been recognised by FIFA?
So, I mean, last year, him and Rice jumped up to 82. This year, Rice has maybe improved, maybe not. I guess you have to find out. But Souček has gone down by 1. He's an 81 rated now, which I think is very generous, to be honest, mate. I think that's very generous.
Really?
I do. I mean, I think when you look at the talent in our squad and the ratings that they're sort of getting, I mean, it's difficult with FIFA because I think you never know whether they're doing it based on form. If you say he's an 82 this year, and then you say, oh, well, he's not performed very well this year, so we'll downgrade him by 1 based on form. Or do you then just re-look at the whole thing and say, what sort of level player is he? Because I think if you look at Thomas Souček last year, he's probably like a 78 or a 79, mate. I mean, I personally think he should have been dropped down at least 2 or 3 because he was just so poor. When you look at the level of some of the players in our squad and the ratings that they're getting, and you're thinking, are you basically telling me based on FIFA that this player is better than worse than Souček? I don't know, mate. I think
that's something that jumps out, isn't it? I mean, you're right. You are right. I mean, I appreciate it is difficult for FIFA because if you're basing it on when Souček first joined the club, he exploded on the scene, wasn't he? He was scoring goals. He was one of our key players and a key component to keeping us in the Premier League at that period. And then obviously they went on a fantastic season after that, and he was a huge cog in that side then. And obviously, as you say, it has tailed off. And I think you're right. I think I can see where their predicament is. You don't want to knock him too far down because at the end of the day, he kind of, it would be slightly harsh on him. But yeah, I think you might be right. I think maybe the 1 point slightly generous on EA's part because he was very poor last season. And let's be honest, he hasn't really been too great this season, man. All right, slightly, maybe not so in the last couple of games, but overall, I've not been very, very impressed with him. So I think he'll count himself a little bit lucky to see where he's sitting still at the moment. As you say, he's on an 81 overall. Obviously, pace is very low. 57 pace for Souček. It's very low, isn't it?
It is very low, and that is a downgrade from last year. I think he was just about over 62 or something like that.
Was he? Okay.
So clearly they've sort of. I mean, I think his passing's gone down. Probably not by enough, but his passing has gone down.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing I criticise him for a lot, and he's on 73 passing. I mean,
can I tell you one thing? Right, I don't want to spoil much about the video, but Thomas Souček's passing is way too close to Declan Rice's passing. It's way
it is. I think you're right. You are right.
It's way so close. I honestly don't understand how that's been done. I mean,
When they've said 73, did they sure they didn't mean 7.3? I think
7.3. I mean, it could be, but I'm sure he makes up for it with his physicality, which I think is fairly justified on the card.
Yes, he is actually one of the highest on that. He's scored an 85 physicality, which
which
I think is fair. He's a tough player, and defensively 82, that's fine. But passing 73. I'm not sure I agree with that one. I mean, I think that's the issue I really have with him is his distribution. It's very poor.
Very, very generous by EA, but I'm sure he won't argue it.
Exactly. So, mate, should we move on to the cards then?
Mate, I'm buzzing. I want to get onto the cards. The cards.
So we're going to start. We're going to go from the lowest points of the card. We've got 5. Now, when I spoke to the lovely people that sent us these over, they basically put me on the spot and said, right, what 5 do you want? So I just kind of had to list off players as quickly as I could in my head and try to get the sort of new signings in, key players. So we're going to have Kurt Zouma, that's the first one. Then we're going to move on to Jared Bowen. And then we've got a new signing, Scamacca, Lucas Paquetta, and then, of course, Declan Rice, mate.
So that's the first one you mentioned.
Yeah. Right. So start with Kurt, shall we?
Interestingly, mate, he's got a downgrade.
Has he?
Well, unless the start, I think he said he was a 79 on the thing, but if he's got 80, then he stayed the same.
Yeah, no, he's on an 80. So yeah, that's what he's on. So he's overall an 80. Defensively, he's 80. Physicality, 84. Very, very high.
Very good.
Very good. Pace 62. I mean, I think that's probably high considering what you want for him. That's in there. So yeah, he's very, very. I actually think 62. I mean, it's probably is fair, isn't it? Bit of a harsh knock on him. He can be quite slow though, on his knees. I'm still not confident at all on his knees.
Yeah, but look at that lovable face, mate. Look at that smile. I mean, how could you not want that card in your FIFA team? Look at that.
I know he loves.
You not want that card in your FIFA team? You'd never be able to drop him, would you? Imagine looking at that. Looking at that card in your ultimate team and going, "Listen, Kurt, 62 pace. I'm getting run over all over the place," and you just got that smiling face back at you. You wouldn't be able to drop him.
I know. Maybe we should just do every video with this.
Just in the background, you reckon?
That would prove quite popular, I think. I think people.
I think it might.
But yeah,
overall, a very fair rating.
So are we saying then that he stayed the same then, Riley?
If he's 80, then he stayed the same. Yeah, I think really? On the spreadsheet it said he might be 79, unless I misread that. But if he's 80,
yeah, I'm just having a quick look here. Yeah, I think they said on the list here. So I'm just going to put it up. Yeah, no, they reported it an 80 on the list.
Fair enough. I must have just misread it then. But I'm fairly certain he stayed the same then.
Okay, well, which I think is fair enough. I do think that's fair. He has been pretty decent for us, hasn't he, Zouma?
Yeah, and he was injured a little bit last year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think he probably considered it. He might be a little bit lucky there then because he has missed quite a fair bit of football.
Yeah.
And I do think, especially early on in the season, last couple of games I've started to be a bit more impressed with him, but he looks uncomfortable for me. I'm quite concerned. I've been quite concerned with him really, with his fitness. He hasn't looked that. Yeah, he's running. You can see he's struggling sometimes, and I do worry that there's an ongoing injury there. But who knows? I mean, we did sign him with that issue, though, didn't we, with Chelsea? Because obviously he had a really bad time there. We did. Next one, mate. England international, a player that we've done a video very recently about being out of form. Mr. Jared Bowen, he is 80, like Mr. Zouma. Now, where is he from last season?
He's got a +1. I think that's quite harsh. I think he should at least have a +2. I mean,
yeah,
he's got a good card. I think dribbling's a little bit harsh, pace a tiny bit harsh as well. But overall, that's a very, very solid sort of card for Bowen. I mean, he's a very well-rounded player. I mean, 44 defending for an outfield sort of winger, I think is quite decent. So they obviously recognise his defensive capabilities. But I think +1. Maybe +2, but he was definitely
I actually think that's harsh on him because I thought last season he really exploded. I thought he did very well. I know he's a little bit out of form at the moment, which we talked about. I actually think that's a little bit harsh. I think his shooting, I think it's quite low, 77. I'd say he's probably one of the best shooters that we've got at the club. You know what I mean? His finishing's amazing. I think that's one of his key attributes, to be honest. So I think that's quite low, 77. Don't you?
I'd say his best attribute is his dribbling. I think he's really good at just sort of, especially like when he's in tight situations, just keeping the ball at his feet. Yeah. And I think when you look at the whole of FIFA, if you compare it to, if you say Harry Kane's got like 90 shooting, how much shooting should someone like Jared Bowen get? I think, if you give him 80 shooting, I don't think anyone's going to complain at that. I think that's a very fair sort of mark. Yeah. That's one thing that's definitely improved from him over the last couple of seasons. But he's not got much of an improve in shooting since his last card, which is interesting because that's the main thing that's improved from his game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually surprised at that. I think I personally think he deserves a little bit more in his shooting, but everything else I'm quite happy with. Pace 78, yeah, I'd agree with that. Dribbling 81, like you say, that's one of his key features. But yeah, physicality 66, not sure about that. I think he's quite strong. I think Bowen. I think he can hold his own. But no, overall, I actually think he'd be a little bit disappointed with that. I think
he will be.
I think he would expect it a bit better, but overall, it's still a decent card, isn't it? He's done well, but
yeah, mate, he's got an upgrade. I mean, like I say, if you're 80 rated, if you're 75 rated, you're just bursting on the scene. You're an established Prem player. If you're 80 rated, then you're turning heads. You're good. If you're 85, you're upper echelons. I don't know if you're 90, then you're creme de la creme. You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait to see this 92 rated Declan Rice card we're going to be seeing. I can't wait to see it.
That'd be something, wouldn't it? That'd be something. Well, it may be, mate. Let's wait and see. So, next one. Mr. Scamacca. Gianluca Scamacca. Obviously a key signing for us this summer. Finally got another striker in West Ham United. It's a miracle. So here we are. So 80 overall, like Jared Bowen. Shooting 80, which I've got to agree with that, mate. I think he's proven straight away what a shot he's got on him. And he's
definitely.
What's your thoughts on these stats then?
I was quite interested, mate, looking up on Scamacca because, obviously seeing him last season, he was absolutely class. He was 74 rated last year in FIFA. He's gone up by 6, which is completely massive. I think physicality surprised me a bit, but I do think he doesn't use it that often, does he? He almost reminds me of Haller in that sense, where he's a big dude, but you don't often see him like muscle people off the ball and stuff.
No, I agree.
Well.
You don't.
But I think he
can hold the ball up quite well. He's got a good way of presence about him. He can hold it. But I know what you mean. He doesn't really shrug. He's not like an Antonio where he will sort of just push someone off the ball.
Mate, his passing is criminally underrated. He honestly, he's one of our best passers. He's so good on the ball when it comes to passing. So I think 66 is a little bit harsh. But to be fair, for a striker, 66 is very high. So
yeah, okay, fair enough. I mean, I think I agree with you. I think passing's harsh. Pace 73, he's not bad. Dribbling 74. Obviously, his shooting's where is mainly where it's at. Physicality 74 as well.
Yeah,
okay, fair enough. But you're right, harsh. It's got a bit harsh on the passing side because he can distribute lovely. So yeah, I'm surprised at that one. But overall 80 there, mate. What was he last season? Do we know?
74, mate.
74. Okay,
74. Right, he was a silver last season.
That's pretty amazing. Then I think he'll be pleased with that. That's a serious jump, isn't it?
That's a +6, mate. So that's the same as Ben Johnson, and it's much harder to jump from like a 74 to an 80. So we've clearly got a very good player on our hands. It also just shows how good our scouting team is. If we've got someone who's 74 rated, obviously FIFA ratings aren't everything when it comes to football, but it is a really good indication. EA don't just pick these ratings out of nowhere. They've got scouts, they watch games, they look at stats and such. So it is a somewhat indication. If you're getting a 74 rated player and, he's worth an 80, you'd say that's a really good scouting sort of move from us to be able to get a player who's obviously just burst on the scene in a sense and is this highly rated. I mean, just shows again how well Moyes and the sort of transfer team have done this year.
That's exactly it. That's what I'm more excited about. I mean, you look at the players, but in the numbers that FIFA are, recording these players at, it's quite impressive. It shows how well we have done, like you say, mate. I say for him to go up by 6 points, I think that's really impressive, and I'm sure he'll be very happy with that. Another new signing, mate. The big one. Paquetta. So 82, Paquetta. Obviously, very highly rated, as we know. We broke our transfer records to bring him to the club. This is where we are with him. I mean, this just shows the sort of player we signed here, mate, doesn't it, really?
I mean, it's an interesting one. I want to be excited about this card, but a +1 jump from last year. I think he got one of the most special cards in the whole of the game last year. Team of the season, player of the month. I think maybe a +1's a tiny bit harsh on him.
Yeah.
Tiny bit harsh on him. I think he's a very well-rounded card, and I think you can see that from his game as well. 85 dribbling is super high. That's a really good rating for him.
Yeah.
I'd say defending is where it should be. Haven't seen much of his shooting, but we know he can. Good passing, decent pace. I think maybe a tiny bit off the mark, but he's a very well-rounded, well-balanced card, and I think we've seen that so far at his time in West Ham, and obviously for Leon as well.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, I mean, as you say, defensively 69. I mean, I think that's actually quite hard. I think he's pretty good defensively. I think he works very hard. But overall, it's a really well balanced card, isn't it? I mean, that's really impressive. 78 for shooting for for his position, 79 passing, 78 physicality. Yeah, overall, I'm pleased with that, mate. And that just shows the sort of player we've signed. I'm actually really really excited. I can't wait to play as him. Obviously for when the game does come out.
He's going to be one of those cards that's going to be in a people's teams for a very long time, especially as in like a number 8. I mean, he's such a well balanced card. I think what is he like? He's only like 5'10" as well, so he's not going to feel clunky on the ball. Really good dribbling, good shooting. Stick a shadow on him or an anchor. He gets his pace, defending, and physical all upgraded. I mean he's going to be such a usable card this year. I'm very excited to use him, mate.
Buzzing, mate. I'm absolutely buzzing with that one. And I think, yeah, I mean, maybe as you say, you're saying, well, it's a bit harsh him only going up by 1. But I suppose when you look at it as overall, he probably is quite fair at the moment. You know what I mean? It'd be harsh to put, I mean, if you were going to move it up then 1, what would you say then? Would you make 72 pace? I mean, I don't know whether I haven't seen enough of him yet to know his pace exactly yet, but
I think the stats are quite fair. I just think he should be an 83 rated personally. I mean, when you look at Declan Rice was 82 rated last year, Souček was 82 rated last year. I'd say, he's coming in as a really exciting young talent, one of the best talents in Europe, basically. And I think last season, that how well he played. I mean, it's quite hard to jump from an 81 higher, to be fair, because you are just getting into those sorts of levels. But he got one of the most, apart from Christopher and Nkunku, I'm pretty sure he got some of the most special cards in the game last year. Player after month after player after month, team of the week after team of the week, team of the season as well. Like I just think 83 might have been a bit more suited to him, but he was due an upgrade. 82, like you can't argue with it.
No, I'm pleased with that. Overall, I think that's fair. I mean, I wouldn't mind.
One thing I will say is he's the same rated as Fabianski, which is a little bit like.
Yeah, that is actually, before we go on to Mr. Declan Rice, Fabianski. So he is obviously, a very good goalkeeper. I'm not knocking that, but I think he's very high. I think he's still overall he's 82.
He stayed the same since last season as well. Stayed as an 82, which I'm very surprised about. I mean, like I said, when we're talking about players, 82 is quite decent, and I think, let's say Fabianski was 25 years old, would he go for 50 million like Paquetta? I mean, I don't know. That's what I mean. When you say Jared Bowen's an 80 and Lucas Fabianski's an 82, when you say Thomas Souček's an 81 and Lucas Paquetta is an 82, I mean,
that's probably the only one. Yeah, that's the only one I would say. But I suppose it takes into account, all their previous seasons, so how they are as an overall. But I know what you mean. When you look at it as a league table of West Ham players, it's surprising to see Fabianski that high. That's all I would say on that. I was quite surprised. I would have thought that, considering the fact now that realistically he's sort of a part-time West Ham goalkeeper now, he's not necessarily guaranteed for every game, and I think a lot of people were calling him this season for Areola to be ahead of him. I just found that to be quite high personally, but. No, I mean, he's still. I mean, not to take it away from him. I would say he's probably one of the best goalkeepers we've had at the club. Certainly, in the last, so in my time, you know what I mean. I think and I look back, I think Fabianski's been such a good signing for us. But yeah, the fact that he's coming towards the end of his career now, it's just a bit surprising to see him that high still. But no. So are we ready,
I
mate?
honestly would have thought 80 would be quite a sort of level sort of rating for him.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at Declan Rice was 82 rated last year. Fabianski's 82. I mean, it is difficult with goalkeepers, though. It's hard to compare them to outfield players, obviously. But I think, we're talking quality-wise, I don't think Fabianski's, much. I mean, he's one rated higher than Areola as well, which personally I think Areola's a better keeper, but,
Fair enough.
What do I know?
Declan Rice, mate. You ready for it? Right. The number 1 player for West Ham this season, Mr. Declan Rice, which I think 84. So what was he last season?
He was an 82 last season.
He's not saying so. He's gone up by 2.
74 pace, mate. Passing, mate. I mean, I can't believe it.
Really? You think that's low?
It's criminally low, mate. We should be talking 82 for this guy at least. I mean, I don't know what his long passing is or his short passing or the little increments in the stats, but I mean, I'd say his best attribute is his passing or his dribbling. I mean, he's so defensively good. He's so good on the ball. I just think passing wise, and to be fair, I think he is quite fast.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. I mean, Look, 84 is a fantastic score. I'm not knocking that. He's the number one player at West Ham, and rightly so, Declan Rice. But you look at that and you actually think, okay, pace 71. Let's look at that for a minute. He is fast, Rice. He's proven he's got a very good turn pace, and when he gets going and the way he runs and carries the ball, I think that's very low for him. Dribbling
so give me your stats for each part of this card. Then do you reckon?
Well, I think they should be.
Yeah, what you think they should be?
So pace, I mean, I would expect to see that in the very high 70s. I'd expect that to be maybe 77, 78, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Dribbling, I think, is fair. 76, I think that's round about right. Shooting, 64. Ooh, I mean, it's hard with Rice, isn't it? Because he has got a good shot on him, but the only thing with Rice, he's just not overly consistent with his shooting, is he? That's the only thing he's probably, when you think of, say, like a Frank Lampard and how many goals he got for Chelsea in his time, and he just sort of nailed his shooting. I think that's the only part of Rice's game I would say that I want to see improve, like just become more consistently decent. Because we've seen it in the past where he can hit a ball lovely, but he just doesn't do it enough for me. That's all. So, but again, I still think 64 is a little bit harsh on that. Defensively, for me, I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Passing, I think, is low. Should be again high 70s. Maybe
it's one higher than Souček, mate. I mean,
yeah. Now that's
it's. Whether
fun, isn't it? That is one where we've got to say that's very questionable.
Is Souček too high or is Declan Rice too low? And I honestly think Declan Rice 80 minimum passing for me. I mean, he's so good on the ball, mate. I mean, 84 rated is not quite a board. I think 85 plus is where you get the sort of the flares in the board, and then I think you get a walkout at like 87 plus or whatever it is. But he's got to be chuffed by that. He's gone up by 2 again, and like I say, it's much harder to go up 2 when you get sort of hit like 81, 82. Than, his quality keeps getting recognised, and it's a very usable card. I mean, 70 plus pace for a holding midfielder, very good defending, very good physical. Again, you stick something like a shadow on him, I think it'd be a very, very good card in FIFA. I'm very excited to use him because unfortunately, Declan Rice has not been a very usable card in the last few FIFAs, mainly because of his pace and just his rating. But now that he's 84, he may well be, one of the starters in my squad. I mean, I'm very biased. I always love playing with West Ham players in FIFA, so very excited to see him. But he's going to cost a lot in the early game, as you should.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thrilled for him, mate. I mean, as you say, I think it's slightly harsh. I do think the card is harsh on him. I think he will certainly be questioning a few of the numbers on there. But ultimately, as you say, it's an upgrade again for him. He's being recognised. 84.
Do you think he's happy with that?
Well, I think he'll be happy with it.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he will be. I think realistically, there's a few. As I say, I think shooting. I'm not going to move that too much, but I think the passing's harsh, I would say, and I think the pace is a bit harsh. That would be the two I would like to have seen improve. I think defensively, physicality and dribbling, I think are fair. I think for me, these are the pace 71 and the passing, I would say as well. They're the only two I would say that I would like to see improved.
Is Declan Rice the best holding midfielder in the Premier League for you?
I mean, I'm going to be biased, aren't I, and say yes, but I actually, but even putting that aside, I do think that. The thing is, it's like when people don't watch him enough, they don't realise how good he is. And funnily enough, I was watching football with my missus the other night when we were watching the West Ham game on the Thursday night. And she was going, and she sort of mentioned that. She said, I don't really see him doing that because, like typical people, they go, he doesn't score many goals. Is he really this good? Is he really worth that money? And we did a thing where we just kind of just watched Rice for about sort of 10, 15 minutes. And by the end of it, she was like, he's a Rolls Royce of a footballer. It's like, he's just amazing. Everything he does, you can see he's leading the team. He is an absolutely class act, isn't he, Rice? And I don't think people realise that. And even when you get other fans saying, we're not that bored if we got him. If he went into, he'd walk into any side in the Premier League, wouldn't he? He'd walk into he'd be a straightaway starting, a captain. I mean, and that includes Man City, Chelsea, everyone, Liverpool, everybody. I think he'd walk straight into their sides. I really do. I think he's that good. We are going to struggle to keep him, mate. We know that. But that aside, mate, I'm absolutely thrilled for him, really. It's great he's being recognised.
I mean, I only mentioned it.
He's the number one rated player at West Ham.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, I only mentioned it because from the leaks I've seen, like Rodri, who I actually do think is a better midfielder than Rice. I honestly do. Rodri, I think he's the only midfielder in the Premier League better than him. He's around an 87 this year. But Fabinho, I believe, is still higher than Rice, which I think is a bit crazy considering injured for most of last season. And I think Rice is honestly just a better player. So I just thought it was quite interesting to see what you thought about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good shout of Rodri, actually. It's not a bad shout. And I actually really rate him highly. So I suppose I've just got, the claret and blue glasses on a little bit, but I just love, I just love him. You know what I mean? He's just such a good player. But when
Yeah.
you say, so what was you saying? Where's Rodri? 87?
Well, obviously it's not official. Like, this isn't me trying to, be a whistleblower or anything. But from what I've seen from leaks and stuff, apparently he is 87 rated
Oh,
this
okay,
year.
right. So yeah,
Which is,
then that's a little bit harsh, then, isn't it, on Rice? You'd say.
yeah, I'd
Yeah,
say you'd argue he's an 85 or an 86, maybe at least. But
yeah.
um,
I think he would have expected 85. That'd be my gut feeling for Rice. I mean, obviously, I don't know the guy, but I imagine that's what he would have been expecting. But still, the fact he's gone up and he's being recognized, and he's the number one player at West Ham, that's a decent card, isn't it, to have?
it's a very decent card, and if anyone should be getting that sort of score at West Ham right now, I think it's got to be Declan Rice. He's, like you say, Rolls Royce of a footballer.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely thrilled for him. And that's it, mate. That's our reveal. So what we'll do is we'll get all of the stats on our website, so all the fans can obviously enjoy them and sort of soak them in. And yeah, so I'm really excited, mate. And also we're thrilled to be releasing this. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I mean, like I say, I buy a FIFA every year. I've got it pre-ordered. It's coming at the end of the month. Can't wait to give these cards a go. Maxwell Corney, Tilo Kira, ones to watch. And obviously, big deckers. Can't wait to use him in the midfield. So, yeah, I'm really excited, mate.
And for me, mate, it's Paquetta for me. I'm really excited. I can't wait to play as Paquetta.
Oh,
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm buzzing for it, mate. I can't wait. I can't wait to play the game. I'm really excited for it this year. Can't wait.
I'm really excited for this year.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers.